Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. We are on episode 14 of Yona of the Dawn, Light. And the last two episodes, oh my gosh, just getting to meet the Blue Dragon. He's a big old cinnamon roll. I kind of love him, but I want him to go with Yona and I want him to be happy and make friends. And we just haven't seen that yet. And so there's been this cave-in. And Hawk is losing his mind because he's been separated from Yona and thinks he's failed his mission and failed at life. Yona is trapped with the Blue Dragon and these angry villagers, these angry cave dwellers, and Yoon thinks they're all gonna die. It's just not a good scenario, and Kija doesn't know what to do. So it's like we left on such like a dour note, and I was like, I want them all to be safe. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't, but I feel really bad for the Blue Dragon because he doesn't even have a name. I was like, we need a name to call him. So I'm hoping maybe one of the villagers knows his name and they just like he was born with a name but they never called him it, and so that by the time he leaves they'll tell him what his birth name was. Like that would be nice, but or Yona helps give him a name. I don't know, or he picks out a name. I just these last two episodes have been really good, and I love Kija a lot. I do. Like, Kija's great, and I love his dynamic with Hawk, but this show, I have a feeling it's going to make you like each dragon for different reasons, and I like Kija because of his relationship with Hawk and how gung-ho he is, and he's super, like, emotional and, like, energetic and optimistic, and kind of, he's just a go-getter, and then this Blue Dragon is very introverted and shy, and he doesn't know what to do because he doesn't have friends, and it's like, I want the best for him. I like want to gather him up and take him with me. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, I have no clue how we're getting out of this cave-in. I have no clue. Obviously, Kija could probably use his dragon claw, right? But I wonder how far that goes. Like to what extent can he do that? So I don't know, but I'm really excited for this episode, but I just want our Blue Dragon boy to be safe. He's too precious. So I'm excited, y'all, but I am ready to dive into episode 14 and see what all goes down, see what Light has to do with all of this. So with that being said, we are going to start episode 14 of Yona of the Dawn here in 3, 2, 1, and I'm excited, y'all. Let's do this. All right, we need to go back and talk about this. Oh, Moonlight. Moonlight! I know the episode's called Light, but it was really Moonlight. That's a perfect name for him. I don't know if it's Sihna or Shina. I know y'all are going to comment down below how to pronounce it. The Crunchyroll translations, the subtitles say Kija, but it's Kija. So I'm sure that however it's mispronounced, if it's Sihna or Shina, y'all will. It sounds like a sh sound, but it's said like s, like Sihna in the subtitles. So y'all will correct me, I'm sure. I'm going to call him Shina for now for this episode until y'all tell me otherwise. But oh my gosh, this episode was really good. So we covered a lot of ground, and man, I'm glad that our Blue Dragon boy has gotten away from that village. I really am glad that he got away because they're just so and at the end where they're like, thanks for the hospitality, the villagers are like, we didn't do anything. It felt like the Tuxedo Mask meme where Yona and them were like, thanks for the hospitality, and the villagers are like, but we didn't do anything. And it's like, whew, off we go. Yeah. Also, Blue Dragon's mask with the hair is multi-purpose. It not only protects him from being naked, it also serves as a pillow. It's a blanket. It's like, I need a multi-purpose mask like this in my life, please. I feel for him though, because he's grown up without any friends or any social activity. So of course he instantly has 4 friends now, and he's like, oh, what do I do? So of course he's like, panics and runs away, but I have a feeling he's going to fit right in with this crew, right? Because they're all a little weird like he is, so it's fine. It's perfectly fine. But yeah, we need to talk about this episode. So, our Blue Dragon, he's so fascinating because he really is more of like an act type of person. He'd rather act first and then explain later, if at all. Like, he's not really into the talking business, which is fine because between Hawk, Yoon, and Kija, we got enough talkers in our group. It's nice that we have someone quiet like the Blue Dragon to kind of mellow things out. But yeah, he knows to dig and get out the right way. He's very perceptive. He's very smart. And like he picks up on what Yoon was like picking out the certain weeds and stuff, so he goes and gathers those himself. So like he's very perceptive and intelligent, which is good. But I feel like him and Kija are a perfect combination because Kija's so loud and talkative and the blue dragon Shina is so quiet that they're like opposites attract. Do I ship them together? I may ship them together because he's so kind to him. He's like, I'll teach you. You can call me brother. And he's like, woo, like runs away. But Yona in this episode, Yona being fearless and her being like, I'm going to do my part. And her talking to the blue dragon and saying like, you're so kind and compassionate. She's like, I hate that these people can't appreciate how you are and like can't appreciate what a kind person you are. Like you just feel for Yona because she really deeply is concerned for him in this episode and wants to get him away from these people because he's just smothering in this cave, right? I also love the parallels between Hawk and Yona in this. We're going to talk about Yona's conversation about Hawk only calling her princess. We're going to talk about that. It's an interesting conversation. And I may be looking too much into it, but we're going to talk about it here in a little bit. But Hawk, my dude, our long-suffering Dark Knight, Hawk is whipped. He just is. It's like, dude, I wish Yona would recognize how much you love her. Because he's like doing anything he can. It's like, And these people, Hawk is very to the point. Hawk is not slimy or slithery in any way. He is like very blunt, very like, here's the deal. And so when the villagers are all trying to like talk behind his back, he's like, nah, I ain't got time for this. You're going to talk now if we're going to save your family members. Like, chop, chop. And so I appreciate Hawk's like wading through all the BS. Like, no, none of that. Ow! I was concerned going into this series when I saw Ow in the ED. I was like, oh, it's going to be this little squirrel. What's this going to be like? No, Ow's freaking precious. It's the cutest thing in the world. Like, Ow is the most cute little squirrel character. He may be the cutest animal side character I've seen in an anime thus far. He's so precious. And he's not annoying in any way. He's just freaking cute. That's all he exists to be there. He's cute, and he helps prove Yona's point that there's no way the blue dragon can be evil or cruel because Ow, his eyes can't turn you to stone because Ow has been fine this whole time. Like, Ow knows how caring and loving he is. I also like when he just lays Ow into like the little bit of hair of that blanket that's on her from the mask. Cutest thing ever. But Yona about to cry. She's like, he's such a kind person. Why doesn't anyone try to understand his kindness? That part where she gets so worked up. She's like, he's so nice and no one gets it. It's like, ugh. But yeah, I just love how innocent the blue dragon is. Like, he's not, Hawk is very coy and Hawk likes to use innuendos and troll Yona and play, pranks on her. The blue dragon, he's so blunt and literal. He's like, no, he's so kind that it's just like all that other stuff goes over his head. But yeah, she's like, I don't like the fact that you've been alone and people can't see what a nice person you are. And just like, she hates it. And she's like, he's been protecting these villagers probably and doing all this great stuff and no one gives him any time of day. And she gets so sad about it. I love how empathetic Yona is and how she tries to understand the other person. She reminds me kind of, it's funny, I was reminded of two things in this episode of two different series that I'm watching. Her compassion towards him and Yona's ability to try to see the best in characters like the blue dragon. It reminds me a lot of Atsushi from Bungo Stray Dogs. Atsushi in that series, he tries to like see the best in people even when they're labeled as bad guys. He tries to see the better in them and see what qualities that are redeemable they have. That reminded me a lot of Yona. And then the other series, we'll talk about that when we get to it, but I was reminded of another series and I was like, man, and I actually think, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but her saying like, I just hate to see you alone. And she's like, it must be impudent of me to want to help you when we've only just met. But here's the thing, that blood connection of the dragons, it's like, have they just met or is that influencing it somehow? I love the expressions on her face though, where she's like crying and she's so happy. She's like crying, but she's smiling to him and he's like, I don't know what to do with these emotions. And Ow is like, yeah. But, oh my gosh, she's like, I want to help out. And she's like, I want to go back and keep trying. And the other series that I've been reminded of in this show is Attack on Titan in the weirdest ways. I actually think I misquoted, and I think in a recent Attack on Titan discussion, I mentioned a quote, and I thought it was from Attack on Titan, and I think it was from Yoon in this series. But some of the thematic elements of it are similar. And she says, And she talks about for 15 years, I didn't go outside. She's like, Blue Dragon, she's like, I'm kind of similar to you. For 15 years, I didn't leave home, just like you haven't left home. But the big difference is, she's like, my life was free of concerns. And within my tiny world, I protected my tiny happiness. And it reminded me a lot of Attack on Titan because it's talking about like the walls and creating this paradise. And it seems perfect, but it's very much not. And she kind of expresses the same thing. She's like, and then when it was taken from me, that happiness, I learned just what it means to be hungry, what it means to to have your heart broken, to want something and have it denied, right? Like hunger is when you want something and it's not there. Like she wanted her father back and he's not there for her. And so it's like, what it feels like to have your heart broken. Oh, damn. And she's like, the knowledge that still you have to keep breathing, the desire to live. That's the big thing. And she's like, I'm alive. So yeah, it's again, that tie of inside the cage, inside the little prison that she was in, like inside her own little bubble, she was just living, but was she really alive? And here she's like, now I know what it's like to feel hungry, to want something, to have your heart broken, to desire things, to feel. And she's like, I am alive. And I'm like, oh, I love it. I love that theme in this. And she's like, you're the same way. She's like, I know that you are. And she's like, I'm tired of this darkness swallowing you. She's like, I'm going to tear it all down. So I'm like, she kind of reminded me of Historia from Attack on Titan in this. And Aaron too. And in that moment, the bells ring and he's like, does such a place exist? Is that even possible? And I'm like, Aaron and Historia would get along great with Yona. And he's like, don't I know already when she touched my hand? Yeah. He's like, he knows. Poor Kija. Kija overworked himself in this episode. And then poor Yoon just like got a chisel trying to do something. But yeah, the moment that Hawk busts in, it's like, you knew it was coming. It's like, Hawk's like, get out of my way. Dude will do anything for Yona. My dude. He even like knocked Kija out with the rock. Oh no, I didn't notice that. But him like instantly putting the spear down and hugging her. Yeah. And of course Kija's like, what? How dare you? And Yoon's like, this poor man. But yeah, Hawk being so concerned over her. And Blue Dragon's like, I mean, I know she's a kind person. Everybody's all about her. But he says, the moment I first saw her, there was a place full of light at this girl's side. And it's like, that's part of it could be the dragon blood, but part of it's like him seeing like what a kind person she is, just like him, except she's the light and he's the moonlight. I like it. I like it a lot. So yeah, they leave and the villagers are not unhappy to see them go. But I'm really surprised at the end that he leaves the bells behind. I guess is a sign that he's able to move on. Which granted, the bells would be really distracting and would probably alert enemies to their presence. So it's probably good that he leaves them behind. But the sad thing about that is when he says that I've forgotten what your face looks like, ow. And I'm going to tie that kind of Yona talking to Hawk later. I'm going to tie that to that, right? I'm going to tie it to it. Okay. But yeah, I like that Yona has to stand on the ledge to be at eye level with him. Like he's pretty tall. And then them agreeing to come with her. Him agreeing to come. And I do like how this show makes his skin a very like yellowish tone, a very like placid color, because if you think about it, he's been inside that cave so long, like if he was tan, it's almost like he has a naturally tanner skin, but he's been underground so long that it's made his skin kind of sallow looking, and it's like, yeah, okay. I like that little touch that the anime does, like color-wise. That looks really good. And I like that he asks, can I be allowed to live the way that I am? Yeah. Absolutely. Can I grasp the hand of one who says she doesn't mind? And it's just like, ow. It's the same type of love. That non-judgmental, can I trust her? That trusting, non-judgmental, unconditional love. And it's like, yeah. And and for Yona, I don't think that's the dragon blood. I think that, and him crying, like the little tear being shed. All these dragons have shed tears so far. So I have no doubt the green dragon and the yellow dragon are going to be shedding tears as well. But yeah, but him leaving the village behind. And he even nods to them. He even nods to them. These people were like shitty to you. They were awful to you. And he nods to them and acknowledges them as he leaves. And he leaves the bells behind. It is sad that he's forgetting what Al looks like. That is really sad. But I like that he recognizes that Yona is a compassionate person and that he does trust her the same way he trusted Yao. Or Al. Yeah. And then poor Kija. I love that the Kija embracing Shina's hand, being like, I'll teach you about the dragons. He's like, huh. But yeah, I love Kija in that moment when he grasped his hand. I was like, oh, do I ship them? Yes. So, but yeah, him saying like, come on, dragon, I'll help you out. I'll teach you all the things about this mythology you know nothing about. Because Shina really knows nothing about society and culture. He just knows that he's been stuck in this cave and that he has a cursed power and that he protects the village. And that's pretty much all he's known his whole life, right? But yeah, I absolutely love when he dives into the river and he catches the fish for them. All I can think of is Napoleon Dynamite, like, I caught you a delicious bass. That's all I can think about. It's so good. But yeah, so he's like, I don't know what to say, but I know I want to help you, which is good. So I'm going to be interested to see if he does, how he does combating wise, because he can use a sword, I guess. So there's that. And then I love Hawk. Hawk teases Kija so much in this. He's like, what are you gonna do, White Snake? You gonna let him drown? like Hawk's onto it. Hawk's like, we know you like him, Kija. Like Hawk is totally on board, and Hawk will prefer this because then it gets Kija away from Yona, right? And Kija's like, is it my fault he's drowning? And Hawk's like, mm-hmm. It's so good. But yeah, I like the idea that Yoon traded the village for some new pots and pans and new herbs and things. I like that Shina can use his mask as a blanket to dry himself whilst he's naked. I'm glad they did that. He's too modest. This show does fan service with Hawk because Hawk, you can get away with it. And it doesn't really do it with Kija, but Kija's personality is kind of fan servicey, I guess. But with Shina, he's too pure for fan service. Like, his eyes are about the most we're getting. He's too pure for that. We're not going to exploit old Shina. He's too pure. So instead, we're just going to make him really, really, really modest and cute. I like it. I'm fine with it. But yeah, I like that he... Where is it at? Yeah. He asks him about... And he calls her Yona. Yeah. He says, thank you, Yona. And for a second, I didn't know what the big deal was. I was like, wait, what's the big deal? But in this culture and in this show, they call her princess because she's just the princess. But they're like, he just called her by her first name. That's so familial. That's close. What? And Hawk looks like he's affected the worst. Because Hawk's like, I wanted to call her Yona. And it's like, you beat me to it. And Kija and Yoon are just surprised. But Hawk looks mortified. Well, and then Kija looks mortified too that he used her first name. And Hawk's like, he didn't even hesitate. And Yoon's like, this swine clearly does not know the culture. And Yona's like, oh yeah, it's been a while since somebody's done that. No big deal. And then I like that Yoon asks to call her by her first name too. And she's like, yeah, we're friends. We're friends. Yeah, you can do that. That's fine. I also realized too that he took his shoes off. Poor Shina doesn't have any boots. I don't think he's barefoot throughout most of this though. But yeah, Yoon asks if he can... And of course, Yoon is like, I just want to call you Yona because princess is too hard to say. It's like, it's literally an extra syllable. So then Yona, of course, knows that Hawk is shadowing her. And Hawk, who is, thought she was going to die, he's not letting her leave his sight anymore. He's like, I told you that I was going to stick annoyingly close. And she's like, well, that's if something happened. And nothing did. And so I really like this moment where he says, wait, Yona. And then he corrects himself and says, princess. And there's a moment where she just kind of looks at him. Here's the thing, though. Because, yeah, he almost gets away with it. And she says, I want you to call me princess. And Hawk's like, oh. And I don't think she's rejecting him. And she's like, I didn't meet them as the princess, and I'm glad they're friendly towards me. But I want you to call me princess. Because I don't forget that I'm the daughter of King Il. Yeah, and Hawk's like, did I do something wrong? But she's smiling. She's like, even if the rest of the kingdom forgets, I want you to remember my father and his daughter. And that's the thing. It ties back to Shina forgetting Ao and carrying the bells as a way to remember him. But once he casts aside the bells, it's like he's already forgotten what Ao's face looks like. There may come a point where Shina forgets about Ao altogether. Maybe not totally, but a lot of him. And Yona, she's like, I met Yoon and the dragons as this. I'm not their princess, right? But you and I both have this history together, and you know me as princess, and I may not be able to return home. I may not be able to retake my kingdom and become queen. That may not happen. So I don't want, so she's like, I want to keep remembering my father, and I want to keep that part of my life in memory, right? She doesn't want to forget that part of her life, part of her journey and all of this. And she's like, if you start calling me Yona, then the whole princess, I'll start to lose that bit of my father and lose that bit of myself. And I don't want to do that. So it's not that she's rejecting him. It's actually kind of a term of endearment. She's like, I want you to keep calling me princess because I want you to help me keep my father's spirit and his memory alive. And you can help me do that. I want you to remember my father and his daughter. And then Hawk is like, okay. And him doing the whole kneeling. And then I'm glad he told her what he thought in that cave. He's like, I prayed the king not to take you away. I'm glad that he said that to her. I asked him not to take you away. And her about to cry. I said I wouldn't wish for anything else as long as he didn't do that. I wanted her to hug him so bad. And he's like, I am painfully aware that you are King Il's daughter. I just want them to get together, darn it. And I don't feel like this is a step backwards for them, but I feel like she doesn't want, it's almost like she's friend zoning Yoon and the Blue Dragon. That's what I'm trying to say. She's putting Yoon and the Blue Dragon in the friend zone. She's like, they can call me Yona. It's fine. We're not like that. We're just friends. She's friend zoning them. She doesn't want to friend zone Hawk, and I'm okay with that. I'm glad with that. I'm like, okay, good. Because Hawk loves you, so don't you dare friend zone him. So yeah. But yeah, Shina being like really, really perceptive and picking up on what Yoon was collecting and gathering those as well. I love his eyes. His eyes are so beautiful. And then I like that their words to describe him, like Hawk says mask and night to describe the Blue Dragon, and Yoon says silence. And it's kind of like, it's sort of like what the moon is, right? So it's really cool as she describes light. So Moonlight is perfect. I love the fireflies, everything. It's so beautiful. She's like, you're my Moonlight dragon. Oh, I love it. And he just runs off and plays with the fireflies. He just frolics away. And Hawk's like, I don't understand him. I feel like Hawk's fine with him because he's like, well, he's not trying to hit on you, so it's fine. But he's like, I don't get it. But, oh, my name is Sihna. And then, yeah, and as soon as Kija wakes up, he's had his 8 hours of beauty rest, and he's like, Green Dragon, let's go. Oh my gosh. These last 3 episodes, it's so funny because I'm watching Moriarty the Patriot at the same time as this show, and I'm on the same episode count. Like, I started episode 1 of Moriarty the same time as episode 1 here. And episodes 12, 13, and 14 of Yona have kind of been like their own trilogy. And with Moriarty the Patriot, it's the same thing. 12, 13, and 14 are a trilogy too. So I'm like, it's funny how this all worked out, right? But these 3 episodes with the Blue Dragon, with Shina, have been so good. I love them. They're my favorites so far. I think I like Kija a lot as a character, a lot. But the introduction of Shina and his backstory has probably been my favorite so far. I'm all about it. So yeah, we're getting the Green Dragon soon, right? Maybe. I'm sure there'll be an episode or 2 where we're on our way to find him, and then shenanigans will happen. But I really like Shina, and I'm really excited to have a quiet member for some balance to enter the group, because our trolls are chaotic enough. We need like a quiet balance as well. But I'm really curious to know what you all thought of this episode. But I thought this was great. Poor Hawk. I have a feeling, I hope in the manga, Dude, our long-suffering boy, for sure. So I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please don't spoil me. I am going to read the manga after this series. I've read volume 1. I've read volume 1 of the manga, and it's pretty... It ends right around the ending of episode 4. Ends right as they're getting to the Wind Tribe at the very beginning. So other than that, it's pretty much in line with the anime, pretty much. It's getting right before Moondog goes to the council when they're about to do the coronation. So it's still pretty early on in this, but I have read volume 1 of the manga. It's really good. So I am curious to see where it goes from there. So I'd like to know your thoughts down below. Please don't spoil me though, but I'm curious to know what you think of the Blue Dragon. Is it Sihna? Is it Shina? Help. I'm sure that I'm close maybe. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 15 of Yona of the Dawn. Bye.